As on SA Today, we continue to break down the scourge of gangsterism, gangs and violence in our society. This time, we focus here in Gauteng. Former Gauteng Community Safety MEC Sizakele Nkosi Malobane is in tune with what's been going on in Westbury, and she's been there with the safety outreach programs and was in office as all the violence unfolded. She joins me now in studio, but let me just put it out there that we did indeed try to reach out to the current Community Safety MEC, Faith Mazibuko, and the office told us that the MEC will only be able to take interviews from next week. Nonetheless, the former MEC joins us now in studio. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming through. And I suppose, firstly, congratulations really on your new appointment. So you, the chair of chairs, you responsible for oversight generally.
Yes, I'm definitely responsible for coordinating all the chairpersons of oversight committees in Gauteng.
So I suppose you'll still be able to sort of pick up from where you left off in terms of addressing gangsterism.
Definitely, they will have to follow up on a number of programs that we left behind. But also remember, the issue of crime and gangsterism is not a problem of the police only. And I was happy that there was this interview before I came in, where it was actually addressed by the interviewee that was here before me, that issues of crime, issues of gangsterism are not only the police problem. You need other departments to be involved to try and address these particular issues. You need the Department of Social Development, you need health, you need economic development and others in order to assist to address the social ills that we find ourselves faced with in our communities.
All right, so we need that intergovernmental approach. So I suppose you'll be able to go speak to your colleagues on this matter based on what my previous interviews were talking about. Definitely,
we've already started with that, and there was an agreement that all other departments need to come in and try and address those particular issues. For example, there are serious problems of indulgence on alcohol, for example. And there is no control of who is supposed to consume alcohol in our communities, and particularly in those communities, children who are younger than 18 have easy access to alcohol because of where these taverns or places of entertainment are actually, some of them, they are actually closer to schools, and it's easy for them to leave school during school hours and go and actually consume alcohol and come back to school being intoxicated and end up attacking other people. So you need the Department of Economic Development that is responsible for issuing of licenses to operators of those places of entertainment. You also need social development that will come up with programs to address issues of young people who find themselves being parents at an early age, who end up having to look after teenagers whilst they themselves are still children, you know, because sometimes you find yourself that you are a 28-year-old, you had your child when you were 15, this child is now beginning to be a problem, and you don't know how to handle that particular child. So you need the Department of Social Development to come in and assist in situations like those.
All right. Now, I know that weeks before chaos broke in Westbury, you had visited the area yourself with your outreach program and looking into issues around bullying, gangsterism, and the scourge of drug abuse as well. So basically, government knew all along that there was a problem in Westbury.
I mean, I spent almost 5 years in that community. I've been there, I don't know, on a weekly basis. I've been there.
So you've been there, what did you do?
With the
interventions, did they fail?
You know, the last intervention that we did was to now bring police in the community, and the community was actually demanding soldiers in that SNDF in that particular community, and we refused to bring such. We wanted to bring people who will come in and deal with the problem and move out immediately after that. And whilst they were deployed there was a lot of good work that was done. Quite a number of people, wanted criminals, were arrested. Even those that were even taking chances were definitely arrested. And of course, the previous speaker here indicated that some of them were released by the courts and not by the police. But even those that were released by the courts, when they committed crimes again, were immediately arrested.
The question here is, sorry, we've run out of time, but the question here is, are we looking at the real problem as to what the problem is? Why gangsterism in that area? Before we can bring in police and deploy the TRT, Amaberete, and the rest, do we know what the problem is? Because one of the speakers was saying earlier on that this has been happening from one generation to the next. Yeah. So how do we get rid of it? Do we know what's the crux of the challenge there?
You know, good parenting can assist. And to teach our children, our young men, to take responsibility of their actions. And when we don't have parents, good parents in this case, who will teach their kids to actually take responsibility of their actions, we'll always find ourselves in the situation that we find ourselves in at the moment.
So is that not supposed to be the point of departure? Because bringing in the police...
Let me just tell you about what happened in other areas. Westbury is not the only area that has a problem of gangsterism. At Twato, we did have problems of gangsterism.
I remember.
In Everton, we did have problems of gangsterism. The community there got united in dealing with the challenge. Parents came forward and handed over their children to us to put them into camps, to put them into rehabilitation centers, and some of them were to take them to prison. And that is what we want in these communities. Okay. Hand over those gangsters to us, because you know them, you live with them. Some of them are our relatives, some of them are our children, and some of them are actually our husbands. So bring them to us. Let us
until we take them to the police, the situation
until people take responsibility, we'll never be able to actually deal with this
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, that's the former community safety MEC here in Gauteng, Sizakele Nkosi Malobane. She's the chair of chairs now at the Gauteng legislature. She's vowed that she will engage her colleagues from the other departments to make sure that there is that intergovernmental approach to this problem.